Hi everyone, this is Ali with another video on card making. This time I'm making a card with a distress ink background and I've used a stencil over the top to remove some of the colour with a baby wipe. So this is a Mother's Day card that I made with this technique, and you can see I've used distress inks to make the background and then placed a stencil over the top and used a baby wipe to remove some of the colour, and it gives a really nice effect. So just start with a piece of your favourite white cardstock. I use a 250 weight cardstock. It's nice and thick, but any of your favourite cardstock is fine to use. And then start by using my Ranger tool. And distress inks I've used are Peacock Feathers, Mermaid Lagoon and Wilted Violet. And I just keep my little sponges for my distress inks underneath the container there, and it's good you can just pick out the little sponge with your tool like that. So just start by building up the colour on the paper just randomly across the card in a circular motion, just slightly. It doesn't matter if you do get some marks and things, or it's not completely even application, because as you build up the colour they tend to disappear anyway, those little marks, and you can blend the colours by building them up more and more. So then I just alternate between the colours, building them up on that card gradually and going back and forth between the colours. And then just gradually get darker and darker, and then once you're happy with the coverage, then it's time to get the stencil. The stencil that I'm using today is a stencil from the Dusty Attic, and it's DA1323. And I just place that on my background card and then secure it with a bit of micropore tape, which is just tape that you can get from chemist. I get it here in my local chemist. It's just low tacky tape, so it doesn't tear the paper or anything when you're removing it. It just stops the stencil from sliding around when I'm pressing on it. And then you just get a fresh baby wipe and start to press that down over the stencil so that it removes some of that distress ink colour. I'm pressing fairly firmly and just getting some of the moisture from that baby wipe to go through onto the paper underneath. You just keep pressing until you're happy with how much of the colour has been removed. Keep in mind that once it dries, it gets lighter, so you might want to take it off before you've got to the point where you want it. You will see here I use my heat tool just to dry it off a little bit, and as I do that it does go a lot whiter or lighter with the heat tool. So I'll just finish drying it off with my heat tool. I'm quite happy with it, the look of that now. So now it's time to secure this base onto the front of a card. So I'm just going to get a white card and fold it and crease that with my bone scorer. And then I'm just going to measure up my base card and make sure that it fits nicely on the front of my card. Just mark off the bits that I need to cut off with my pencil, and then use my cutter to cut that down. And then I just need to use some double-sided tape to attach that to the front of my card. And just lightly press that down to secure it onto the front of the card. And now it's time to add the sentiments to the front of the card. And I'm using some dies, some decorative dies, Kaiser Craft dies called Alphabet Uppercase. And I don't have that many Mother's Day stamp sets or word sets, so I tend to use these individual letter dies to do my mum cards. The reason for that is that most of the spelling on the stamp sets that you can buy for Mother's Day are MOM, which is obviously the American spelling, and here in Australia, and I believe in the UK, it's usually spelled MUM, so I can't often use the stamp sets that are out there for Mother's Day because of that spelling difference, so I just use individual letters. I've cut those out of silver card with my Big Shot. And then I'm just going to position them on the card where I think they should go. Just to get an idea of where it looks good. And I'm using a piece of acetate here that I've divided into thirds, vertically and horizontally. And it's like the rule of thirds, it helps you position things on the front of your card so it looks balanced and pleasing to the eye. And I've been using that quite often to position my embellishments and my lettering on my cards. So I'll just get that positioning right and to where I'm happy with it. And then I'm going to attach my letters to the card with my multi-medium matte glue and a precision tip, which I bought separately and put on this glue. It's really great for sticking on fine letters and small embellishments onto the front of your card. So once I have those letters attached, and I'm happy with the position of those, get them all glued on. Then I need to stamp my small sentiment underneath. And to do this, I'm using a Simon Says stamp set, U, and some of the words out of that set. I find that when I'm stamping very small stamps or intricate letters that using my MISTI really helps get a good impression and stops it from smudging or not stamping evenly. I've only had the MISTI for a little while, but it's just one of the most fantastic tools that I own. And I only have the mini MISTI, just due to price point for me. But I know there's a couple of other similar tools out now. They're a little bit bigger than the mini MISTI that aren't nearly as pricey. So I would recommend you looking at them because they really have improved my stamping as well, my images. I'm just using a VersaFine ink there to ink up the words and stamp them. And then I'm just going to trim. Oh, I've used there my just a piece of chamois. So it was a car chamois that I cut into 4 pieces, and Ultra Clean cleaner as well. And I keep my chamois in a Heinz Baby Basics. It's like a snack container, and it just stops the chamois from drying out, and it can stay in there all day and it stays wet, so that's really good too. And this is the Simon Says stamp set that I'm using. I'm putting those words away. Now I'm just going to trim this sentiment down. I like to do the small sentiments with my scalpel. I just find that they're too hard to get straight in the cutter, so I generally use a scalpel for my words or my sentiments that are in small sections, and just trim at the end with my scissors. And then I'm just going to secure this under my mum letters, and I'm going to pop it up with a bit of 3D foam, stick that to the back just to give it a little bit of dimension. And that's the finished card. So I hope you enjoyed my video and that you got some hints or tips from it. and it's quite an easy technique, so have a go. Oh, the last thing that I did want to show you was that I always put an inner in my cards just to finish them off. Just in case you've got a coloured card base, then it's difficult to write inside and you often can't see the writing. So I just put a piece of normal printer paper, cut that to size to fit inside my card. And then I just place a piece of double-sided tape on the front of that so that it sticks to the front of the card. So when you open the card, the inner opens and you see where you've written. I just think that finishes off the card really nicely, and it gives you a white base for writing on, basically. So I always do that with my cards. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and give this technique a go, and leave comments if you'd like to as well. I'd love some feedback, as I've only just started doing videos.